You know, like the 320-pound little brother sits down at the table. You got to out-eat everybody. It makes no mathematical sense if you don't. You got to put everyone away. You can't let the fat cousin or your stupid sister have more than you. You got to put it away. You have to remind everyone that you're the guy that benches 4 plates in this room. Right? That's how I always thought. I'd maybe I'd have a little hoot, and then I'd get all ready, put some mouthwash in, and then I'd be like, dinner's ready. Hey, everybody. Welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. I'm Big Ron Partlow, and I'm here with Dusty Hanshaw and the producer, Scott McNally. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
There we go. And remember, IamMutant.com, Mutant hardcore sponsors of the show. Always taking care of me and Dusty, obviously. And we can take care of you with Dusty20 and Big Ron20. Go on IamMutant.com and use the codes and save yourself money and get the all-in, get the ISO Surge, and everyone should get on the gear. Okay. Yes. Patreon, Think Big Bodybuilding. That's the Patreon. So hit that up.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate all the support. Keep a producer homed. Okay, guys, what's up? I guess it's there's a lot going on this week. I know we're all busy, but don't you guys have American Thanksgiving coming up?
Sure is.
Is there another Thanksgiving? Oh, sorry, that's just the American in me.
Yeah. Remember? Ours is in October, so I already had it. I got nailed with a couple of turkey dinners. I got lucky. I got more than one.
Nice.
And it was good for me, but now it's your turn. So isn't it like football and beer, and isn't that what you're planning? Isn't that what most people do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I'm an anti-Thanksgiving dinner person.
Of course you are.
So, we go with fillets at my house instead of turkey.
Of course you do.
And
cigars.
You got to go turkey.
Fillet.
Yeah.
If you don't have turkey, how do you get turkey gravy on your mashed potatoes?
This is a very important thing to remember, that I'm also with someone who just started a prep, which means I started a prep. Which means it's all a little different this year. But I said, hey, I know one thing that's on your plan that we can slip right in there. Now, she gets a small amount of steak, but I'm going to go big. So there's that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
but you lose the sides, though. The sides are the magic. Nobody gives
the best part
about turkey. It's all about everything else. I agree.
See, this is where we return. We come full circle to years ago when I discussed my disappointment with ham.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah,
Remember
I do.
The great ham turkey thing that I expressed?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a turkey dinner guy all the way. And when I show up and there's a ham, the disappointment isn't in the ham, it's in the sides that go with ham. They're much lower on the tier list than the mashed potatoes and the turkey gravy and all that stuff and the stuffing and everything. So I have a hard time when there's not a turkey, but there's a ham. But at Dusty's house, there's a good steak coming off the grill. I'd be all right.
Yeah,
it'd be good.
Well, plus, I always think about, though, the thing that gets missed by not having the turkey dinner is something that Ron doesn't care about, which is leftover sandwiches for 3 days afterwards.
Hey, I don't mind a turkey sandwich. Okay,
there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Got him.
Okay,
I'm
not a barbarian.
Right.
So
it's not like I'm putting white sauce on it.
Listen, guys. So this brings something up to me. I had a client. She's new to like the fitness lifestyle, new to dieting. And she reached out a couple days ago and said, hey, I'm really concerned. She's feeling stressed because she's made some tremendous progress in the last 8 weeks. And she's kept everything pretty clean so far. She hasn't had, big crazy cheat meal, stuff like that. We've gone off plan a little bit, but her concern is how do I navigate this, number one. But then also number two is the other thing I'm thinking is we've had so many people on the show that have commented this year that have said, hey, I'm getting ready for my first prep. My first show's in 2 weeks. Been watching you guys all the way in. So there's a lot of people that are probably taking their fitness pretty seriously right now that are just trying to navigate the holidays for the first time doing this lifestyle. We all have done it 1,000 times, but what do you guys suggest to people that are in that position?
I say you go all in.
Right?
Yeah,
But
I say you
it depends
go
on
all
where
in.
you are. If you're like 8 weeks out from a show, then to me, you're 8 weeks out from a show. And there will be a Thanksgiving next year. But if you're not, Ron, what do we do?
Well, if we're off season or 20 weeks out, then you eat as much food as you can humanly stuff your system with. And then you use it as an excuse to try those new enzymes that have been in the cupboard for a while that you haven't used yet. And you take a bunch of those, and then you eat an entire lemon pie, and then you lay on the couch and you watch Die Hard 2 because that's a Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah.
And that's what, and you should feel really sick and a little upset with yourself. That's what any self-respecting mass monster bodybuilder would do. Right?
How much Humalog do you need with that?
Yeah. Well, that's another discussion. I'm
really more of a Lantis guy, but anyhow.
Depends on how much fat you cook in the meal too. You don't want to take 20 IU of Humalog with like 300 grams of fat in your system. Yes. I don't know. Is that a good thing? I don't know. On paper, I just don't think I want to do that. But
it's a really good question, Scott, because I find it interesting that in social media land, where we're all full of, you'll see a lot of people that are like, "Oh no, you don't need that meal." Yeah, and I'm like, "What? Who said, number one, you needed it?" But if you're not in prep to me and you are skipping family meals and memories,
lame.
You're an idiot. Like,
I hate that.
I have literally one client right now. I think one that's so close to a show that it's not even a conversation. But outside of that, no. Like, go in, and to be honest, we won't be going too far off plan, but it's because she's like dying to start.
Yeah.
Like, even the one cheat meal a week, like, she pulled the plug on that herself. She's like, I don't want to do those anymore, so I'm just going to tell Ron I'm ready to go.
Dang.
Because it's 20 weeks out and it's exciting to get back to it. And you guys get that version as well. It's like, yeah, I've been cheating for 5 years. Yeah. Let's go ahead and I'm bored of cheating. Now let's have some suffering. So no, I agree. And I think it's great to put it out there because I have forgotten to mention it before during check-ins. And then someone's like, yeah, it was a little hard at Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh, I know. You didn't skip Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we take it for granted, kind of, that people will figure out how to handle it.
Like, I have off-season clients that are like, I had a little bit of extra food at dinner. And I'm like, what do you mean at dinner? And they're like, well, Easter dinner. And I'm like, what do you mean you had a little extra food? Why didn't you just fucking pig out? Well, it's not on the plan. I'm like, you're 245 pounds. You squat 5 plates for reps. What the fuck are you doing? Sorry, Scott, there's an F-bomb.
Passion.
But you got to eat. They're like, I want to be very clear. If you're in the off season, you should be like, if you're trying to be big, if you're trying to put muscle on, and you're in good shape off season. Obviously, if you're a fat pig off season, you can't control yourself. Like, I'm talking, you're walking around, you're in good shape, you look like a bodybuilder. Everyone's like, oh man, you're having a good off season. You should use those as like, you're trying to like impress your dad. Like, you're trying to like that's how I was. I was like, I'm going to show these people what I've become. Right?
I'm going to show these people.
Like the 320-pound little brother sits down at the table. You got to out eat everybody. It makes no mathematical sense if you don't. You got to put everyone away. You can't let the fat cousin or your stupid sister have more than you. You got to put it away. You have to remind everyone that you're the guy that benches 4 plates in this room. Right? That's how I always thought. I'd like, maybe I'd have a little hoot and then I'd get all ready, put some mouthwash in, and then I'd be like, dinner's ready.
Yeah, there's a little PED.
Cruise out, sit next to my sister. She'd look at me and go, she'd always think something was up, but she'd never quite know. She'd always be like, what's up with you?
Yeah.
I'd be like, perfect. You're not going to annoy me. Let's go.
Let's do this.
I think we're going to start a book. I've got the Acetoisms book.
Give away a little bit about my life.
It was good.
Ron is going to have a book that I'm going to make money off of as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm already making it off of Aceto. I might as well. I mean, there's some Ronisms. They're starting to flow.
They're good.
Ron's hitting that age where he's got his own isms.
Yeah.
And like, as I hear them,
enough. I'm ready to be honest, Dusty.
I'm like, yes. I'm the one that benches 405 past the gravy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know. My mom, I've told this many times, she used to make a pie, apple pie, lemon pie, whatever she made, and then she'd make one for me. Like I've told that story a million times. That's how it always was at my house. There's a pie for everyone, and then there's a pie for Ron. And I'd eat the whole thing, man, every time.
One sitting. Just
no. I'd eat most of it that night because you got movies later and everything. So you have another huge slice like 2 hours later.
Yeah, you'd piece it out.
Units of Humalog with it.
Yeah.
And then the next day you have like another huge piece of pie before you go to the gym. You know, that day after when you go back to the gym.
Those pumps.
You have like
a
big
after
piece of pie with meal 1 or 2, and then you go train. Yeah.
Don't
be afraid.
I could make you sick with this, Ron, but I'm going to because I like to. I would always just leave a fork on the top of the thing in the refrigerator. So if I went to the refrigerator for anything, I would just pop the lid and take a couple bites, and I'd put it back because that was mine.
Yeah.
No one else
just graze on it.
Just leave the fork right there on top.
Yeah.
I'd go in to get a Diet Coke because obviously I'm, bodybuilding. I have Diet Coke. But I should have 3 bites of pie.
Victoria can attest.
The lid and walk away again.
It's the exact same thing in this house.
Yeah.
Plus, you don't want to have to get a new fork out every time. You know what I'm saying? Because you'll use all the forks by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Very efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still try to make it look nice. Like I don't just take chunks out. I kind of I might even slice a little sliver off.
You're not an animal, for God's sakes.
No, I want to. Presentation still counts.
He lived on a farm. He wasn't born in a barn. That's great.
Born in a barn. That's one of my favorite lines from Army of Darkness. Is that where you pulled that from? What are you, born in a barn? I love that fantastic line. Oh, what a great movie. Okay.
It's good. It's good insight. I think that everybody, including my client, who's a few months into dieting, will get the picture. So,
yes. But of course, the caveat is that you're not already a pig. Okay.
Yeah.
That means you've been having Thanksgiving for years.
Yeah. If it's been a rough off season and you're like 65 pounds over stage weight, then it's not like, yeah, man, I'm a bodybuilder. No, you got to work on things. But if you're like in good shape, or you're like a month post show, or you're like, you look good. You look good. You got control of things. Then you got to use those. You got to take advantage. Okay. What's next, Scott? Did we have another topic?
We did. So one of our listeners was dating a girl for 7 years. Okay. Good bodybuilder. Kid's really focused, pays attention, does what he needs to do. Now they broke up. And he's dealing. So I don't want to mention him because I didn't tell him I was going to bring this question up. But this is something that I've been through. This is something everybody's been through, So I thought this would be another real good one to bring to the plate and hear what you guys have to say. He's trying to still hang in there and do the best he can. But obviously he's dealing with a lot right now. What do you guys have to say to that?
Yeah, that's was it him or her or who? Is he
I didn't
heartbroken
ask.
or
I didn't ask.
Yeah. Obviously, if he's dealing with like being crushed, that's a little bit of a worse situation for him, right? In which case I would say really try to stick to your routine as best you can and spend time around the small number, like, some people have too many friends. I talk about this all the time. Some people have too many friends. There's going to be that small number of really, really tight people. Don't be afraid to lean on them. Hopefully you have a couple people that you can lean on a bit. And, your close friends are going to be there for you. So stick that out. But you got to stick to your routine. You got to stick to your gym and your meals, and you got to stay positive. And the gym's probably a happy place for this person, hopefully. Hopefully their ex isn't there.
Right.
But just don't be afraid to spend a little extra time at the gym, maybe. If they're not doing cardio, throw a little cardio in post-workout, spend a little extra time. And also, if you have a hobby that maybe you've neglected or anything like that, I'm a big believer in having something that's separate from life, that doesn't have to do with your bubble. You can step out of your life and go into a hobby. That's kind of what I like to do. And I think that's important. Start watching good movies that you missed. I don't know. There's lots you can try to do.
Yes. Scott, what is your take on this? I'm saving mine.
Well, I can remember going through a breakup years back, and I was the one who initiated the breakup. But nonetheless, it was a big life-changing event from doing that. And so I was very unsettled with that. And I went through a phase then of being just, I would say, like, really uncomfortable with my social life. I was just real uncomfortable with it. And I talked to my coach. He's a good friend of mine. Rick Wetmore was his name. And first coach ever that I had, he didn't even charge me. Like, this is way back in the day, you know, when like somebody at the gym would help you out kind of thing. Somebody who had done it before. That was Rick. So he's kind of like a big brother to me. And we just went to the range the other day, actually. So I still see him. But the advice he gave me was this. He said, Scott, I don't care if you don't eat. No matter what you do, keep going to the gym. I don't care if you can't sleep. Go to the gym. I don't care whatever else goes on. Just make sure that whatever you do, you keep training. And that's exactly what I did. And I honestly overtrained for a while. There was a few month period of time there that I went to the gym more often than I needed to. But I'll tell you, and I knew that, like, okay, so I'm probably not going to make good progress during this phase, but this is what makes me feel good. This is what makes me feel comfortable. And over time, I got to the point where I was like, yeah, this is too much. I got to dial this back. And I did. And then I got this attitude change. And it, like I said, I was the one who initiated this, but it really did bother me. And I got this like chip on my shoulder. And I said to myself, like, I'm going to effing show everybody. I'm going to put on as much freaking muscle as I can now. Like, I don't give an F. I'm just going to do this. And I moved up a weight class. Like, I went up from, I think I was 173. And I went up to like the 18 months later, I was like 194 on stage.
Oh, wow.
Like, I really moved up. I really moved up.
Should have broke up earlier.
That's I was eating
Was
so
that
much
like blocking food from entering your mouth? What was she doing?
Dude, I mean, I ate.
Women.
So here's the thing: is like,
eater.
this is back when I moved back to Michigan. I started working for 7-Up, and I was on my feet. Like, we weren't step counting back then.
Yeah,
but I couldn't imagine. Like, I couldn't get fat no matter what I did. So in the off season, I'm eating like 2 cups of rice, and I still wouldn't grow. And so then I went to like 8,000 to 10,000 calories. I told you guys about this diet. I was eating literally every hour. And I was just like, F it. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this, you know, eating McDonald's, stuff like that. And then when I went to my contest diet, I was still eating a ton of food, you know, and like pre-workout was like 10 ounces of beef, you know, 12 ounces of potato. And that was like an hour after the last meal, you know, and, and I put on the size, but I also challenged myself because I was like, I'm going to try to get fat. I don't care. I'm going to eat so much that it actually happens. I still didn't get fat. But I definitely grew.
That's freaking nuts.
Well, maybe he'll explode. Boom.
Hey, maybe she'll be the reason that you go up a weight class. That's a pretty inspiring situation.
Yeah.
You know, outside of like what you guys said about the obvious, I think from personal, I'm going to call mine less than smart, but situations that I found myself in, I do think that oftentimes you're really more attached to the idea than what it was.
Yeah.
Like, in hindsight, it gets really, really clear later in life when you go, that's why that didn't work. Because everyone on this podcast has been in this scenario and at least lost one that like shook your life a little bit. And you're like, man, that was going to be like the permanent one, you know?
Yeah.
And then when you move down and you're ancient like us, you go, oh yeah, that was never going to do this. You know what I mean? So I think that there should be some comfort in that fact. And the only advice, which I usually like to joke in this scenario, but to be honest with you, my advice is do not try to distract yourself with a different woman. Like, you have to like handle this situation, move forward in bodybuilding and finance and a lot of other things, and then use those things, the bigger muscles and the more money, to get a better woman. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
This is a totally different Dusty than started this podcast.
I may have done the opposite of that a few times.
Yeah, that's usually my advice.
Yeah.
You've heard that here. Actually, one of my clients, actually, he told me this in hindsight. He was like, yeah, I asked about a breakup. And my advice on that one was nothing gets you over like the last one, like getting on top of the next one. And he goes, I took that advice immediately. I'm like, oh no. Did it work?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, there you go. It worked.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes you got that little list. You know, that little list that is like right here.
Yes.
And it's like, this is if you ever find yourself single suddenly, there's a little list here.
Time to
And
start
then
checking
maybe
boxes.
There's a couple names on that
man.
list. Maybe it grows a little bit. And then all of a sudden, you're in a situation where you're like, oh, hey.
Just looking for your food in the refrigerator, and there's that list right underneath the pile.
Yeah, and then you just gotta just like, and then you send the how is it back in the day? You send a Facebook message. Hey, how you doing?
I just go back and like 3 photos, boom, 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 and then
or you know that they heard your you go back like 3 old photos, or they heard you're single, so you out of the blue get a message. Hey, what's new?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay.
we're doing this.
I've said
Lovely.
too much.
Yeah.
Never done any of those things, and that's why I went with the good advice for once. But yeah, I do think it's funny though, because it's at the end of the day, I've done every angle of bad and good, and it still sucks, the scenario. So eventually time just gets it done. But it is funny when you look back. Like, I literally have videos, because there was a couple times in my life where I was like really pissed. I'm at the gym at like 2 a.m. and I go back and look at them now. I'm like, dude, I look good. That was a good time for bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I was pissed. I was eating and I was training. Okay.
Yeah.
What do? I take drugs, I train, and I eat. It shows.
Right. I remember
Fantastic.
I had someone tell me one time, one piece of advice was someone, because like you hear the term soulmate, right? And some people are like, oh, I thought that was my soulmate. And I remember someone told me once, soulmates don't exist. There's at least 100,000 people that would be extremely compatible with you, and you just happen to stumble upon one of them. You'll stumble upon another. And I remember just like, oh, a little like nature show reality, like just to check. You get like
let's do some math real quick on how many people are in the world.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just, I think, I don't even know if they meant like in that country or not, but whatever it was. But you just start thinking like, oh, okay, I'll just stumble upon another one. It'll be another one.
Just be patient.
You just relax about it. Yeah. So don't think like, oh, that was the one. And I don't believe that that's a thing, so keep that in mind.
No. Actually, what's classic is when I was single and I got my new place and I was rocking. This was 3 years ago. I remember one day I was like, I'm never going to date again. This is
I'm
awesome.
compatible with dozens of women right now. This is amazing.
Literally, I was like, I don't know, like, I'm not going to let someone come in here and screw up this. Like, I do whatever I want. Cheesecake Factory every night. I live across the street from them. I'm set. I'm like, this is it. Then Nikki comes in and just did it all up.
Messed it all up for you, huh?
She does the thing you like that you don't have to pay for.
And then I'm like, I didn't even teach you that. You knew it already. Awesome. The last 3, I had to show them that.
I'm glad you know it. I'm too old to teach. Yeah.
And that's it. That's how it works in real life, fellas.
Yeah.
Once you give up, you're in.
Basically, you're just you're gonna be single until you meet the next girl that does that thing you like, and then you'll shack up with her.
Doesn't do the things you don't like. Also key.
yeah, that counts too. Okay.
You know what's funny though? You'll love this, Ron, because you can identify. When we first were dating, I was like, hey, I'm gonna call you in 2 hours. I was on a trip with one of my sponsors, and like 9 hours later, I broke free. I texted her. I'm like, hey, sorry, I was busy. She goes, yeah, you were working. That's all it said. I was like, this might just work.
Yeah,
this might
You
just
have
work.
a brain.
You didn't get the like. You said you were going to text me in 2 hours.
You
What's her
call
name?
And you're like, hey, what's up? She's like, what's up? I'm like, nothing. No attitude.
How's the day been? Great.
Yeah.
You having a good day working?
I was completely thrown. I was like, all right, well, this is going to work. Okay. Because the 9-hour thing's very often with me. So here we go.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things, like with my relationship, there's just so much, like it's just so easy that way. Like, I'll call you later. Yeah. Like 5 hours later, I'll call her like, oh, I'm done. Oh, okay. How'd it go? Like, there's just no like, how are you? What's going on? Send me a picture. Like, that would never occur.
Yeah, that's trust. Though. That's trust. That's what that is.
Like I'll get off a plane in Germany and she hasn't texted me. She's just patiently waiting for me to get off the plane.
Yeah.
Like I don't get off. There's like 5. Are you off the plane yet? You off the plane yet? Where are you? I thought you were landing. Like, like I couldn't handle that.
No, too much for sure. So see, it's all good. Ron and I have a very similar situation in that regard. I'm like, text in the morning, and then half the time, like, when we're overseas, we were talking about that this morning. I'm like, well, the cool thing about going overseas is actually when we go to bed, you're awake. Whereas there's other times where we're literally missing every time. Yeah. So I'm like, good night, which she wakes up a few hours later and says good morning. And then I wake up a few hours later.
Yeah, it depends on the time zone.
Exactly.
I know I've done like week-long trips where I think I only spoke to Emily like once or twice a whole week. Like spoke, a quick FaceTime or something. And the rest was just text like, I'm up now.
Yeah.
No response because you're not up, right?
Yeah,
right.
So, exactly.
Okay. And then it's like, if you do, it's like, send me a video of the dog.
I asked for 2 types of videos. Anyways.
Different videos.
Wow. Only one of the dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. On the next subject.
Okay. You get any good questions on your question box? I see you put one up there.
Yeah, I'm just pulling
got one
them
you
up
don't want to save for your cigar smoking demos?
I actually do both. I always answer them still, so it still works out. And I've had to limit the number of responses because I found that Instagram was slowing down my views when I did too many.
Really?
Yeah, so I used to answer like 50, and now I answer like 20.
Okay.
Like that seems to be helping here.
Hey, while you're looking, I'll tell you that I hadn't checked the Spotify statistics for a while. We set up Spotify with the channel early on, and we'd get like an additional, 100 views or 200 views. Now it's literally in the thousands. Like there's because those statistics don't line up with they aren't showing in my general statistics that I always look at. We're getting a lot of views or listens on Spotify now. So shout out to everybody who's listening on Spotify.
Yeah, I feel like the audio listens because I'll look at the YouTube video and I'll see how many views.
Yeah,
and then so I feel like those audio listeners, I don't give them a moment credit. You know what I mean?
There's not as much engagement, with the audio. Unless
there's no comment section. I don't kind of check out what's going on and stuff. So it's a nice reminder when you're like, oh yeah, there's like way more people than YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of our Patreon people listen only. Some of them are video, but a lot of them are audio only people. So that's one way that they can definitely directly communicate. But yeah, it's always been that way, and it's awesome though. I love seeing this, man. I think Spotify's really taken off. I guess they're changing some things around that aren't going to be for the good. Also, I want to mention too, anybody watching on YouTube, I'm not in control anymore of where the commercials are placed. Usually, I would put one about every 20 minutes. Okay. I don't know. There's no more control of that. I can either put commercials or not put them, and YouTube decides where they get dropped. So you guys let me know where there are more commercials, where there are less commercials, and don't blame me if they jam you up.
Do they think they probably have an AI on it looking for a little space?
Probably have something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Okay. Sounds like they were done with this part of the conversation, so we're going to insert a commercial.
Yeah.
Great.
Your AI is great. It's fantastic.
I feel like it's more like we're right in the heat of this moment. Let's interrupt with a commercial.
Yeah. Well, that's probably how it turns out for a while. Okay.
That's what I see.
Yeah, no. And I'm really happy to see the response on the videos. Okay. What's up, Dusty?
All right. So I only have, truthfully, I only have a couple that are that fun. But I thought this one was interesting. If you only had $500 cash and a phone, what would you do to make as much money as possible?
500 cash and a phone. Well, I would start with Marketplace. Yeah. I would look for something I would probably, something I have some expertise on and know something about, or something I could research easily with my phone. So like guitars or, guitar pedals or something like that I am aware of and know what they should cost. And I would look for a really good deal, like someone who's panic selling something, or I would just make decent enough low offers that you might get the item, and doesn't do you any good to go insulting people with, annoying Facebook offers. But I would try to get a really good deal on a bunch of things and flip them. That would be the first thing I would do. Because $500, it's not like you can buy Bitcoin, That's going to be a wait.
Yeah.
You know what I
Not
mean?
going to go
$500
too
bucks,
far.
you gotta flip that over quick. If it was a few $1,000s, I would do that with a car. I would try to find an undervalued car, right? Because cars, you can make a couple grand on a car if you flip the right car.
Yeah.
You know, a guitar, you're thinking hundreds of dollars. So I could turn that 500 into 700 and, work from there. But once you get into the thousands, I think you start flipping cars if you can get a good deal. I followed a guy that he said a really good thing to do. There's a website you can go and you can see what are the fastest selling vehicles.
Oh,
What vehicles sell the fastest.
interesting.
And, it could be like, well, currently white Toyota Camrys only sit on websites for 2.1 days. And you're like, oh,
Right.
so you look for white Toyota Camrys, try to get a deal on one. That's what he does.
That's
So there's all sorts of resources out there that you can do. If you do not have a side hustle right now, you are an absolute idiot.
Whoa.
fact.
Fact.
Unless you're making a lot of money and you don't have to, right?
Usually those people also have 10 side hustles.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Anyone who
true.
makes a lot of money has like 3 different income streams.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
Most of the
hard
time.
not
But
to.
even if let's say you're making $100,000 a year,
Okay.
9 to 5, you got a good job. You're not making any more money with the rest of your hours. You're not going to do anything at all to make any money at all.
I will tell you though, I've known people. I've had even a friend of mine recently said she was looking for she was trying to find a job. She was like, I don't want to do my own thing. She could be great bikini competitor. She's like, I don't want to do my own thing. I was like, you could coach. You live in Tampa. You could do like personal training. You know everything. You can make a lot of money. She's like, I don't want to be my own business person. I just want to work for somebody else so that when I'm done working, I can do with the stuff that I want to do and have fun.
Right.
It's a different mindset. I don't personally relate to that. That's not who I am.
Right.
But there are those people. They're like, I just want to do my job and then have the rest of the time to, watch the podcast, go to the gym.
Okay, well, the caveat there is their money situation obviously isn't urgent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like I'm thinking of today's day and age, and I live in Vancouver. We have like the highest rent in North America right now, I think.
Yeah. You can't even buy a house out there, can you? Like
No,
most people.
actually, it's reached the point now where the amount required to get a mortgage on your average Canadian or average BC home is now only like 5% of the population have a high enough income to get approved for a mortgage. So no one can actually get a mortgage now. So now everyone's priced out of the market. So it's crazy. So I'm just thinking of like all the people out there that are like, oh man, I need to make some more money, which is most of the people. Most people out there want to make some more money. You got to have a side hustle. Like, geez, you have this thing in your hand. You have all these websites. You can flip shit. You got eBay. You got all this shit. Like, there's so many things you can do to make a few extra bucks. Even if the average person made $500 more a month, it would change their situation. Like they say, what percentage of Americans are one paycheck away from not being able to pay their rent, right?
Right. So
that like cold hard reality of what a lot of people are going through right now. I mean, if you're going through that reality and you don't have a side hustle, it's like, geez, like I know some people have 3 jobs, so that counts. But there's also like a lot of opportunity here that you can do, and flipping stuff is a big thing. If I was young, right, if I was in my early 20s right now, I'd be flipping stuff online for sure. It just has to be worth your time is all. So that's where you got to be.
yeah, I think that's why I like the question was the low number. Because like if somebody says you have $5,000, the game is really, really easy, to be honest.
Right.
But 500 is a little tricky, and you also have to factor in like what do you have. So like when they asked me, I was like, well, if I'm gonna stay legal, the first thing I would do, I gotta specify. I mean, if I'm not, I got ideas. But like for me, then I'd be like, cool, $500 in marketing for the training business. It goes a long way, and it would crank because I'm already doing it. Now, if it was somebody who isn't, it comes down to like, well, what are your skills, things like that.
Yeah.
Being, where I am and knowing the amount of people who are kind of in the same boat as me, which is like, it's more expensive to do my own like yard work and things like that than it is to just pay someone to do it. That would be what I would do. I would say, I have a truck. I'm going to go to Facebook Marketplace, but rather than sell, I'm looking to buy. I need a weed eater and I need a lawnmower. Okay, can I get that done for $500? Cool. Now I'm going to go to places that already have a lawn service. I'm going to undercut them and start making money. And then as soon as that builds, you mosey on down to Home Depot.
Yeah.
You pick up a couple people that want to work. And I mean, literally in no
those
time,
American Home Depots.
Yeah, you know the ones. There's only one way to get in this country.
Home Depot.
That's walk. But seriously, I think that there's so many simple things that you want to think about. And it's very simple advice is solving people's problems is magical.
Yeah.
My problem is I have an HOA, which means the grass needs to be mowed, and I don't have time, nor do I want to do it.
This is my reminder that I have taped to my computer.
Say?
Solve problems.
Next
Literally,
step is solve rich people's problems. It pays better.
Great. That's great. I like that.
But those things are just factual spots. And I think because I've had a lot of people do that on the Q&A, like, what's a good side hustle? I'm like, my brain would explode if I started listing everything I can think of. I think that most people are paralyzed just by the pure abundance of options they have. Like, It's not that complicated, It's really not. Is there something you enjoy doing? I mean, that would be helpful. And how much you're going to either have time or money. You usually don't have both. So you invest the one of the two things you have to create the other. And then it kind of goes back and forth for your entire life.
We saw this kid down the street. Victoria pointed him out to me. He had his bicycle with a little wagon connected to it and a lawnmower on it. The kid's driving around on his bike. Yeah. Think about it. How much money can you make cutting a lawn? And if you could knock out 5 of those a day, even as a 12, 13-year-old kid, you could make legit money doing that,
Our lawn guys go to high school.
Even if I planned on cutting if I planned on cutting my own lawn, even if I was like, I'm going to cut my lawn this weekend, and some industrious kid rolled up at 9 a.m. on a Saturday and knocked on my door, and I answered my door, and he's like, I got my lawnmower. I want to cut your lawn, $20. I'd be like, done deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even if I was totally planning on it, like I had a tank top picked out and everything, I'm ready to go. Right?
He had his New Balance all ready to get the grass stains on.
I'm going to look good. I got the new Balance on. I'm all ready to cut the lawn. Going to blast some hair metal while I'm doing it. Yeah. I would still pay the kid. I'd be like, this is awesome. Like, and there's a lot of people that would do that, and you get in the right neighborhood, bam.
I just think it's one of those things, though, too, that people, that doesn't go away. You know what I mean? So that's how I like to look at these businesses. Like I said, the kids who do our yard, they're at the local high school. And I'm like, your career is set. And if you ever want to expand your business quicker, let me know. We need to buy trucks and mowers. I got you covered. Let's go. I'm now in.
You now have a partner.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny. We're all old enough to maybe have met someone where you're like, if this kid ever wanted an investor, I would want to get in on this kid. And you meet the odd person like that, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, I gotta pay attention to what this guy's up to, because like it's all about the person, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is.
I was watching a show the other day, and I can't remember what clip it was, but it was like a board meeting. And the one sales guy was really mad because this woman that had gotten on, was getting all this praise for all these sales she had done, and she was going to get a promotion or something. And he's like, "You can't promote her. She doesn't even have a college degree." And he goes, "You're complaining because a woman with no experience and no college degree just outsold you. You're fired." He's like, "You shouldn't have complained. You should want to be like that." You just got outsold in the first year. Her first year here, she outsold you, and you're now bitching about it, which means you're a problem to me. So see ya. It was like, I was like, oh, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's easier now, though, for all these things to not kill this topic, but because the average acceptable level of effort is so low, that if you go do what used to be the minimum, you are exceeding expectations at ridiculous rates. That's all I hammer home at our house is I'm like, Just do things at the highest level and you will smoke everyone, because everything is so pathetic now.
Yes. I love that quote. I've seen all the major podcast guests kind of pitch in on that idea, and Dana White probably has the best quote that was on Instagram, where he's like, I just tell kids, and Gary Vee too, he says, I just tell kids that if you have work ethic right now and you have motivation and you have drive and grind, you are going to destroy everyone else in your generation.
Yeah.
Just unleash on them. Just take everything. Take everything. He's like, it's right there for you. And there's no competition in your generation at all. He's like, just smoke it. And I was like, oh, wow. He's got a good point.
Very simple.
I got a few bodybuilding questions here.
Fire.
Bodybuilding?
Okay, yeah, believe it or not. We had one from Leslie. So she's one of our longtime listeners. And this relates back to when we were talking about using force in your concentric portion of the rep, driving it hard, not slow concentrics, which we got so much hate from people who apparently don't do that and don't get it. Interestingly, I did a podcast with Scott Stevenson about that topic after we did the show, and he dug out all the science and everything else. And one of the things he said that really made a lot of sense to me, he said, if you're doing something that's going to be like a slow, controlled concentric, that you're only going to be able to get so many reps. And when you fail, you're not going to be able to just keep pushing, because you can't kind of like half push something as many times as you can if you drive with everything you've got. So if you just drive with everything you've got on every rep with the heaviest weight you can handle, you're going to get more reps. I mean, just to put it really simply, I thought that made a whole hell of a lot of sense. But so Leslie's situation is, she said, question for the next show, is it possible to build lean muscle tissue without explosive movements? I ask because due to some injuries, I'm waiting on MRIs for each shoulder, and I have 2 MRIs scheduled for my knees later in the month. I've changed my training to using slower eccentrics, slower concentrics, rest pauses, longer holds, 1.5 reps at the top, bottom of each movement, and variations thereof. Although I'm in my mind 50s, I can't address my injuries. Leave it at that. She has some more stuff going on. Women's physique competitor. She's competed for 9 years.
Yeah. I think that most of any of the, I don't want to use the word arguing, but all that stuff, I think a lot of it was just semantics.
Yeah.
Like the word explosive, I don't want them to think that means like bouncing stuff and like. And
you did say that later.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the principle that has always been the way it was explained to me, and the way that I've read like the studies on training with maximum exertion on the reps and how many more muscle fibers it recruits and all that it was the intent to move the bar with speed. Now, of course, you're not throwing weights up because you're training with heavy weights. So it's just, you're trying to accelerate the bar. So you're not bouncing at the bottom. There's not some sudden like crazy blowout at the bottom, but you're accelerating into the bar. So imagine, and I know what people mean when they say, oh, they got bad shoulders and stuff. Cause maybe you come out of the bottom with a little bit of wind, you're not max jerk at the very bottom, but as the weight moves, you accelerate into it as hard as you can. And it's the intent to move the bar with speed. That's what we mean when we say explosive concentrics. If you watch Blood and Guts and you watch Dorian pressing on the incline, you hear Leroy, drive, drive, drive. But the bar is not bouncing. It doesn't go like that.
Yeah.
It goes down and then he goes drive, 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 drive. And it only goes up like that fast.
Yeah.
But he's moving the bar as fast as he possibly can. He's accelerating into it. He's not letting off halfway up because he knows it's going up. He's trying to get that hard drive. So that's what you mean. You generate more tension that way. There's more power in the formula. If you do the math formula, I can't remember the proper term, but it's weight times reps over time. You get a bigger number. because you get more reps with higher weight and all that stuff. So, 300 pounds for 10 reps is 3,000 pounds of volume. And if you move the weight really slow and only get 6 reps, it's technically less math in the formula, and the number's different. And, then you say, well, was it more stress because I had, same number of seconds under tension? But I still think it comes down to moving weights.
Right. Well, and part of it too is, like, science aside, you're just speaking too from your personal experience as, what you've figured out, and Dusty the same, what you've figured out to be literally 300-pound bodybuilders.
Right.
You're not telling anybody if somebody still wants to do it slow, I'm sure you're okay with that. Like, you're going to sleep.
Yeah, I don't really care what anybody does.
I don't give a shit. And
as a gym owner, he actually hopes everyone will go slower, lighter, and please use cable connections on those. He hates when you don't put a connector on the cables.
Yeah.
No,
but there's a million little caveats, right? Like, there's all these different contextual things. There's hundreds of contextual issues that you could change for each person, but that's just baseline plan when I think.
Yeah.
When you're looking at anything, this is for the direct question from the listener. Anything that causes direct pain, you should not do. I don't care if it's the right way, the wrong way. And so you have to keep that in mind. So forget about how we're viewing this. Based on what you've said in that comment/question, there are things you cannot do that would end up taking you out of the gym. So what I will say is what you are doing is absolutely the best option for you. The end. Mm-hmm. Like, you really got to think about that. It's like, and we joke about this all the time, but I hate to see someone say, oh yeah, I see so many guys doing the hack squat and it really hurts my back and I'm doing it anyways. I'm like, don't. So when you have that many injuries, be smart and just say, okay, how can I stimulate this muscle with as little pain as humanly possible in the joints? Because you're not training your joints, you're training your muscle. And then you're going to be fine, and that will yield the best result for you.
I've given up a lot of exercises because, my goal is to train pain-free now. And I've jettisoned a lot of exercises. And some of them, I would say probably made a difference in my physique because, also I don't, run the cycles anymore, and I'm not eating, I'm not bodybuilding like I was. So, not doing bent over rows has probably had a pretty dramatic effect on my back. But I'll tell you what is training pain-free has kept me in very good shape because I can train everything and I still have quite a bit of muscle. And there's other body parts where I dropped out exercises that I expected there to be a visual impact, and there was absolutely no visual impact at all.
Huh.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's, people get a little too wound up and a little too invested in their favorite exercises. There's a lot of ways to overload a muscle with basic exercises. People get so tied to like I know people that won't use that leg press. They wait for that leg press, even if it's a half an hour, because they just like that one. And it's like, just use the other one. Like, just train. Like, you're going to be fine. You know what I mean? So some people get a little bit too married to things. And it's not as complicated as you think.
We had one for Dusty. He wanted Skip and Dusty's opinion both. We got to get Skip on the show one of these days.
Yeah.
Skip
have him on anytime. Just let me know.
He agrees with me for sure.
He says, I've been reading all of Dante's old stuff on intense muscle, and I'm wondering what everyone thinks about Dante's nutrition advice today, specifically carb cutoffs, not eating carbs and fats together, and eating 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight year round. So 400 to 500 grams of protein per day. These methods seem to work. Has science made them obsolete?
I love the way you formed that question. So the first rundown that I think is interesting is science never makes results obsolete. The end. It sounds funny, but usually it's the opposite. With a lot of what Dante's put out, I always get a kick out of it because there'll be something put out, for example, maybe a year ago, 6 months ago, I'm reading a study on how much it helps to stretch under load. And they were proving that this works. And I was like, this has been proved for 26 years.
Right.
Where have you been? Like,
Yeah.
so it was funny. I will say this though, that a lot of what he wrote on nutrition got thrown way out of proportion because people did not understand that the idea was to get as much food down you without getting fat.
Yeah.
So we weren't measuring food.
Okay.
It was literally eat as much as you can, eat in this order. So it'd be like you get your protein first, make sure they get that down because maybe you just can't eat anymore, but at least you got your protein. And then down the list. And then another protective measure was if we're eating carbs and fats in the same meal and they're just going off the chain, the calories might get too high. If they're eating just carbs, the volume of the carbohydrates that you're using is going to slow you down from eating too much. You know what I mean? When you're getting into fats, obviously, the volume of food is lower, the calories are higher, but most people, in my experience, lean towards carbs. So you're kind of making sure that they're not also adding 300 calories from quick fats. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
that's how I got to the 8,000 to 10,000 calories was fats.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's always the magic, and I think it's something you want to use if you're struggling. But I think much like anytime something gets addressed, everyone reads it black and white and doesn't take that step back and go, "Why is he saying this?" It's not because if he was measuring your carbs and fats and telling you how much to eat, then you could put them in the same meal. But you have psychopaths like Scott, me, I'm sure Ron, you were this way. Like Dante had to actually get me less fat when we started. And everyone was like, "Oh, Dante likes to get everyone fat." And I'm like, literally the very first thing he said was like, "Well, you're too fat, so we got to bring you down." That was the first step in my work with him, was that. And then we got those things under control. And I was never had a big appetite, but I was stubborn enough and wanted to grow enough that we still had to kind of cap my food here and there because I wouldn't do what I was supposed to do. I was like, cool, well, we're going to do 350 grams of rice. I'm not going to get up from this plate till it's gone. Right. You know? So there are people who can still screw it up because they're stubborn enough, but no, everything he put out there isn't against science. It's really to control the way that we function. He never scientifically said this and this are bad. He was controlling knowing how bad bodybuilders wanted to get big and how fat they would get.
A lot of what Dante did wasn't he wasn't making scientific claims. He was managing the mentality of wacko people.
Yeah, because he understood because he is one of us. Like Dante was thin, like 135 pounds and over 6 feet tall.
I can't picture
and
that.
He just willed himself into being a monster and found the best way to do it. And that's where things get thrown off. It's too bad because, and this isn't a shot across the board, but there are a lot less people that I could put on that kind of diet now because most people won't eat enough if I don't make them. I have to write it down now and then adjust it and write down more and more and more. There's just not that many people, and I'm not blaming the mentality. I think it's more their fear of their appearance than it used to be. They're like, I shouldn't eat anymore. I'm getting a little soft. And like, Ron, you know this. When we were kids, it was like, how do I get that scale to say 300 pounds as soon as possible? And then you get there and you're like, you are a fat slob, but you are 300 pounds.
Yeah. Achievement unlocked, at least.
Yeah. My first 260 ever, I've said this a million times. I got to 260. I dieted down to 208 and I still wasn't sliced. That's how fat I was.
Dang.
Yeah.
But I just and it's funny though, I look back and I think that that's still the best mentality because it was like, whatever it takes. I just want to get big. And whatever it takes wasn't more drugs back then because I was poor. So it was quite simple. What is cheaper? The 99-cent menu. Perfect.
I remember when I went through a phase where I was eating an entire loaf of bread at school every day with a jar of peanut butter.
With peanut butter. Oh, I knew it. I knew the peanut butter was in.
That's why Ron doesn't eat sandwiches anymore.
I would take a thermos of shake, like protein shake with like fruit blended into it and yogurt and everything. And it was in like a thermos because I had to keep it cold because it had like milk in it.
Those are called Stanleys now, everyone.
Yeah, the old famous farmer thermos, like a big stainless steel farmer thermos full of protein shake. I'd take that, and I'd take a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter in my bag. And I was just trying. I remember vividly the day I hit 205. I remember I called my friend. I was like, I finally hit 205. And he's like, oh man, you've been bringing bread, like a whole loaf of bread to school for weeks and weeks just to hit 205. Like I remember that. It was like just a mission. Like I didn't give a shit what I had to do. I was like, I'm just going to eat 2 slices of bread with peanut butter every time I go to my locker and just plow through this thing today, you know?
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
I love it.
You know, definitely no problems with gluten back then.
Are we going to explain what a locker is now?
Do they not have those anymore? Too dangerous. They might keep a gun in it.
Exactly.
What about this one? Okay, here's a question that might not get you demonetized.
Thank you.
What are the creepiest personal training moves you've seen in the gym? Examples being like dubious spot squatting, making sure that her adductor is firing, suspicious assisted stretches, etc.
I'm not a fan of touching. There's too much touching going on. Too much touching.
How's she going to feel that exercise in her glutes, though, Ron?
If my hand's on her
exactly,
ass, she's not
if you
know.
weren't, giving her the cue.
Yeah, I'm not a big touching fan.
Yeah.
No touching.
You know what's funny is it's I would love to, like, back in the day, I can say I saw a little bit of that now. I should say back then, but now the trainers that I see, not all of them, but most of them, are so disconnected from their clients. I don't even know if they're like in the same.
You need more touching. You need more touching.
I was like, I'm gonna need you to do something to prove. Like, there's times where I'm watching and I'm like, I think that's an RDL. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what she's doing, and he's collecting a free check. You feel guilty. Like I want to walk over and be like, "Hey, stop paying him, please." Like the injury's coming. I mean, at least he can touch your ass and make sure you're doing it right. I don't know. Just a thought.
I saw a video. I saw a video someone posted on like that gym fail, and it was like, "Is this trainer too much?" And I don't think it was a setup because it looked like a real video. But a girl was doing lying leg curls, and the trainer was standing there with both his hands holding her hamstrings, but they were up high right under her glute, and he was pushing her hips down into the pad as she was doing leg curls, and his hands were like right in. He was in there. He was in there, right? And I think the thumb was even right in the center, like really warm, real moist in there. Lots of steam in where his thumb was, and he's holding their hips down against the bench, and this person was like sitting on the leg extension filming it, like they were like covertly filming it. They were like, "What the is this trainer doing?" And they're like, "This is the fifth set. He's had her on there. That's like 5 sets in a row." And it just looked like a clueless woman, like new to the gym, kind of like did not look like a gym person, and some middle-aged housewife that had a trainer, and this guy's like holding her, making sure her hips stay right down on the bench. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
I actually see the opposite though, and I'm sure you guys have seen this too. Like, if you ask someone to spot you on squats, you're literally asking them to be right behind you.
Sure.
Hands up underneath your pecs, basically.
Right.
And going. And I remember I asked someone to spot Nikki one time on Smith squats because I was going to film it. I didn't want him to f up the filming. It's important. She got done, and I was like, I'm going to have to tell him next time that there's only one way to properly spot a squat, and go ahead.
He thought you were going to kick his butt afterward or something.
He's like, I see him trying to figure out where to grab the bar, and I'm like, that's 315, kiddo. You can't pull it up.
I just hold
my hands up here. I just showed him. I'm like, look,
when I spot a girl
underneath an armpit, you don't have to touch their chest,
right?
But you're still underneath. But see, I can just see. I mean, I think it was probably the scariest moment in his life. He's like, "I'm gonna hurt her. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna touch her boob. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die today."
Yeah. Or she's gonna lose it, and we're both gonna fall, and then he's gonna die. One of the three.
Yeah. It was funny. I'm thinking, I'd rather you just took your shot and made sure she got the set right. Grab away, kid. I want 12 reps.
Feel she gets an extra rep. Everyone's fine.
Everyone's a winner. Classic.
Man. Kind of, okay. I guess I've got one that's a little bit related. So this is from Patreon. So it was 2 questions ago about the Dante question. I generally want to know what your thoughts are on gym culture. I feel like my gym's culture is like very few people are friendly, especially with regards to the opposite sex. I don't need the attention, but my default behavior would be to be friendly with everyone. Eye contact and say, hey, how are you doing? Instead, I pretty much just talk to a handful of people. I feel like being friendly would be frowned upon. I feel like it's not just my gym, but it's maybe a generic plague.
I think the guy's, the root of his question is he wants to be friendlier and he wants to train in a friendlier environment, but he feels like nobody wants to be friendly and he doesn't want to be labeled a creep if he's friendly.
Yeah.
And I would say, screw that.
Agreed.
Just be friendly.
Be yourself, right?
Just be yourself. Be friendly to people and then leave them alone. That's the best way. If you're friendly with someone and then you keep talking to them constantly, then it's like weird. It's like, they might think that's a little too much, but just be super friendly to everyone and then just leave them alone and just watch what happens. You'll see people start talking back to you. They go, hey, how's it going, guys? Have a good one this morning. And then just keep walking. And sometimes people are like, oh, that guy just said hi and told me to have a good workout. But then it fosters part of the environment. Then that person knows you're friendly, and the next time they see you, they might give you the head nod. Now you're head nodding. Maybe you're going to wind up spotting each other. Maybe you're going to wind up introducing you to other people. Like the bad gym culture is because people do that.
I agree.
Bad gym culture is because people who are so afraid to interact with other people just wall themselves off from everyone so that no one's offended and everyone leaves everyone alone. And then you just wind up with an unfriendly gym where no one even knows anybody's name. No one knows anyone and no one spots anybody. And it sucks. So just be friendly to everyone and just problem solved. It'll plant seeds. It'll change the environment of the gym. That's what I say. And if someone's not nice back, who cares? I say hi to people all the time that don't say hi back to me. I don't care. That's fine.
I think it's also important if you are one of the fit people of the gym, I'll say, that you are one of the ones that does that a lot. Because like when we come in, we walk straight to the stretch room. I put my bag down every day, and then I walk to the locker room, and I must have some form of communication with 15 people between those 2 locations every day. And when it starts happening enough, then other people will start to communicate as well. I mean, it's definitely something where people realize like you can be serious and be nice.
Yeah.
And I do not have any problems. And this isn't like a bodybuilding gym. I train at a big box gym. I do not have any problems with people talking too much to me. Like, cause you set the tone. It's like, hey, how you doing? Great to see you. Boom. Keep walking, very quick things. Everyone interacts. And I think it does have the entire gym experience is better. And same like John that runs the gym. He's always been that way. I watch him walk through the gym. He knows everyone by name, doing fist bumps all around. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just a better environment. And I do think it bleeds down. You know what I mean? And more people do it. And I do not have problems with too many people at all that like talk a lot. And it's nice because when you are nice enough and everyone knows, you go, cool, I got to get to my set. And they go, oh, okay. Yeah, I've also never offended anybody by cutting them off and going, I got to get back, man, but I'll talk to you later. And then it's all good.
Yes, it just reminded me, one of our listeners, longtime listener, Casey Reed, you guys might know him as Lats from Professional Muscle. He said to the Nasser video that we did, he said that he trained in the same gym as Nasser for a while. Nasser, he said Nasser didn't like a lot of people at the gym. He said, but he did like Casey. And he would ask you for a spot, sometimes even in the middle of your set. You would be in the middle of a set, and Nasser would be like, hey, can you spot me? And he wants you to stop your set and go help him out.
Rack.
Yeah.
I was going to hit a PR today, but Nasser needs a spot right now.
That sounds like Nasser, doesn't it?
Listen, gardening gloves. I'll be there in a minute.
Nasser would hate you.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely would hate me.
You like how that one friend of mine sent me the Amazon page for gloves like that?
That was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
They were like climbing gloves, right?
I don't even
weren't
remember.
Yeah, that's what they were.
I just remember they looked perfect.
They were the exact same
climbing
gloves.
It was definitely what he had. That was fantastic.
We've had a lot of good feedback lately too. People are loving the reaction videos. They're like they're having fun with those.
Yeah, I've been having fun with them too. Just
Me
getting
too.
a kick out of everything, you know.
You mentioned before we were recording, didn't you? You had something about some feedback. You had said something about some listener feedback that you had heard.
Listener feedback. Now I'm
You remember
trying
that?
to remember.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
What? Yeah, I just trying to remember what I told you.
This is fun.
Yeah. Well, you didn't. You had just said something about some listener feedback, and when we're figuring out what we're gonna do. But
okay.
I put Ron on the spot, Dusty.
Well, he's old.
You put me on the
can't
spot.
Do that.
Yeah. We've got some good
can't do it to me either.
Some good reactions. I liked your point, Dusty. You had said you're like, guys, I don't think that Branch Warren was challenging him to a fight. He was just saying that he was going to have some words with him. There were people in there that like, Branch thinks he's all tough and he's going to beat people up. Who is this guy?
Yeah, I know. I was like, did you hear what I heard? I just heard he said, we're going to have a conversation. Next time I see you, we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah, we're going to have some words. Give him a piece of your mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because you can always tell the age of someone and or their maturity with those comments. Because I'm telling you, like right now, the first thought, I mean, unless we're in a dangerous situation where I'm literally protecting family, all I would think is, what would one swing cost me?
Yeah.
How bad will winning this fight, how much will I lose when this ends? Like, no. Let me just give you a quick view of Branch's ranch and explain to you he does not want to punch anyone ever again for the rest of his life.
It'd be an expensive
way
punch.
too expensive.
Yeah.
How'd you lose $1 million? I won a fight. Oh, he sounds like you lost.
Yeah.
You lost to the guy from Generation Iron. That would be the worst.
Yeah, I like when you get to the point in your life where someone challenges you to fight. You're like, you want to fight me? I'll just ruin your life with a lawyer. I'll just destroy you. I'll just have someone do it for the next year while I go about my business. I won't even have to worry about you. I'm not fighting you in the street. Are you kidding? I'll just take your house.
Yeah.
I'll paint it green because I know you hate it. And
Yeah.
sell it to your ex-wife.
Go ahead and punch me. I'll just take your house. And your car. And your wife will be mad. And then she might leave too. Yeah. Don't go punching people in the streets, kids. We live in a crazy age.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that it for the show, boys?
I think that's it.
Did we put in a decent day's work here? I don't know.
I think so. The audience should tell us, guys, we need questions for the next show. So comment with questions, last 5 minute crew. We could use some questions. Oh, Ron, t-shirts.
Oh,
t-shirts.
Yes.
T-shirts are on the way. I ordered a sample. So I'm going to see, because here's the thing. There is nothing like buying a shirt to support something that you believe in, getting said shirt, and it's made out of the crappiest material and it doesn't fit right. So
test these out.
I placed an order for a couple different options, and I'm going to see how they look. You were saying, so I've got the cartoon logo for It's Just Bodybuilding on the front, and you want to do something with like the hashtag last 5 minute crew on the back, you're saying? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that might be cool. I don't know where you put it, but yeah, we could have something like that. But yeah, I bought some shirts off one of those sites. I got some like Pulp Fiction related shirts. I got a Pulp Fiction poster on the front.
Nice.
And it was like super awesome. It was a big leg day shirt. Washed it twice. Half the logo came off.
You're kidding me.
Actually, that shirt was a gift. That shirt was given to me.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like super cool. But after several washes, it was like destroyed. So you want to run these shirts through the washing machine a few times, throw them in the dryer, really give them some, throw them on your dog and let them run through the bush. Yeah.
I don't like crappy material. I don't like crappy materials anymore either.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they got to be the
I was like, I got this shirt. It's like cotton. I'm like, that sounds like wearing a bag. I'm good. No.
If you get the spun cotton is real thin and real
really
soft.
Expensive. Yeah,
those are good.
The magic is the price. If the price is low and it's cotton, you don't want those. Speaking of, I got to give a little highlight here because look at this shirt I got today in the mail. This is Iron Asylum Gym,
Longview, Texas.
Back. I no words. I get a knock on the door this morning.
Yeah.
And it's the post office guy with his big box. what is that? Obviously, I didn't go to the door. Nikki did. She brings this box and she goes, oh, it's from Mike at Iron Asylum Gym. I'm like, get out. She opens it up. I don't know, 18 shirts in there.
You're kidding.
For all, and his shirts are all sick. I mean,
he uses
they
those
have
same
to be
tri-blends.
because the gym is so sick that the shirts have to be. Ron has already been there and done a Mutant on a Mission, and it's changed 150 times since then, and it's only been 120 days. That gym, literally, I mean, from talking to people who go there, like they go in and like every week there's something new.
That's cool.
Like he's just
half the time
always changing stuff.
Half the time when I talk to Mike, I'm like, hey, what's new? And he's like, oh, I just got back from a 37-hour drive. I went up to Jersey to pick up a piece. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I drove nonstop there and back. Didn't even sleep. Like, he's just crazy, man.
That's
awesome. He does all
man.
sorts of crazy stuff. Like, he'll go anywhere to get a piece that he's looking for. He'll bring it back and tow a trailer up there.
The gym is just out of control. The shirts are out of control. I don't even know if he has a way to buy them online, but if he does, trust me, you want to. Because since we started the prep, I told Nikki, I'm like, hey, it's time. And she's like, for what? I'm like, baggy shirts. You got to disappear. I like to like train in the dark. You know what I mean? And she was like, I'm in. So we bought her, like I had just yesterday went and bought her like a bunch of large men's t-shirts that are like way too big. And then this came in the mail and I'm like, hold one of those up. We're ready.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah.
You have disappeared for the next at least 12 weeks, and then we'll see what you're working with.
Deep cover.
So, yes, Mike, thank you. If you see this, these are all sick. And I literally, to give you an idea of how much I wanted to wear one, we were leaving to the gym, and in 30 minutes, I'm like, throw this one in the dryer so the wrinkles get out. I'm not even washing it. Straight to the gym.
You're good in the gym, but my favorite use of a baggy t-shirt on a girl is still like running around the house, no panties.
I don't have to borrow
baggy
someone else's
t-shirt.
shirt, or there's no effect if it's mine.
Baggy t-shirt. Yeah, my baggy t-shirt, no panties. Yeah, that's still my favorite outfit.
It's a great look.
So,
I tell Victoria every day she doesn't listen to me. I just feel like
it could be a band shirt. Yeah, it could be anything. Yeah.
We work from home. Like she could wear that outfit every day. I'd be good with that.
Yeah.
It'd be fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's basically a dress.
Yeah.
That just totally reminded me of. Do you remember the wedding singer?
Yes.
And he comes in, and the girl that left him's in his house in his Van Halen shirt. He's like, "Take my Van Halen shirt off before you break up the band."
Oh man,
classics. All right, sorry, we've derailed, but yes, thanks, Mike.
Yes, thanks, Mike. Okay. See, it had to end on the panties. We needed that. We needed that. It was a good finish. Okay, remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
That's right. And remember, IamMutant.com, Mutant hardcore sponsors of the show. Go to IamMutant.com, use Dusty20 or Big Ron20 to get your 20% off. Remember, ISO Surge all in, and everyone should get on the gear. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Dusty. Much appreciated. Another week in the books. And remember, it's just bodybuilding.